All right, assisted living fans, for the 12 of you on the channel who actually like the show, here's my episode review for season 1, episode 16, entitled Rebel with a Cause. This episode synopsis is as follows. Jeremy and Leah have different ideas about how they should address Sandra's behavior. Sheriff Luckett stops by to have a talk with Jeremy about their kids. Jeremy and Leah threaten to send Sandra away. So let's go ahead, and before going further in the video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, because liking and commenting really does help the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you can hit subscribe, we just hit 150,000 subscribers. Let's try to get to 200,000. Also, hit that bell notification icon, because I really want to get the percentages up, because not even barely 25% of the subscribers on this channel actually watch the content, because most people don't even know when I post. So more people who don't subscribe actually watch the content. And if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe. And finally, follow me on my social media. All the various links to Instagram, Twitter, Facebook page, Facebook group, all that good stuff in the description box below. So this episode, let me put it this way. I enjoyed this episode of Assisted Living more than House of Pain this week. Brown and Cora were not even in this episode. And I enjoyed this episode of Assisted Living more than House of Pain, despite the fact that we had Floyd coming back to the series. So this episode got a 3 out of 10. Believe it or not, I actually had some good things to say about the episode. So let's get into it. We have Leah upset. You know, she's in bed. Jeremy's coming in trying to comfort her in regards to how they should deal with the situation involving Sandra. The fact, you know, she was once a little girl and now she's just a little devil. What can they say? What can they do? And it's kind of funny when you think about it, because almost like the similarities between the storylines of House of Pain and Assisted Living kind of remind me of how, you know, how the haves and the have-nots and If Loving You Is Wrong were kind of compared in regards to certain story arcs. Because you have Jasmine dealing with Caleb, and CJ and Janine are like, you know, we can't forbid her from seeing him, because remember when my parents did that, CJ, and the next day, you know, we had Malik on the way. So then you have in this situation Sandra, and the fact that, you know, Jeremy's like, well, I mean, she isn't acting too differently than how we did when we were that age. So then we go over to, I believe, the next morning or the next day. The sheriff comes over to the facility to talk with Jeremy. For a split second, I thought we got a new scenery, a new backdrop, but unfortunately we didn't. We just had a different angle of the, I'm sorry. It was just funny, because I'm like, oh shit, we actually have a new scene. No, we don't. It's literally just I guess you could say the entrance to the main area of the assisted living facility that we've always seen. I literally got excited for a second. I was like, oh wait, never mind. There we got the kitchen 3 steps away, then the living area. False alarm. So basically the sheriff comes over, says that, you know, he heard about the weed you had growing back there. I'm not going to lie. Vinny and the sheriff going back and forth. Because I'm black, isn't it? I'm black too, sir. That was actually pretty funny. Makes to the face. I actually laughed. That was pretty damn funny. So then Jeremy comes in. Him and the sheriff have an exchange of words, you know, between the disrespectful son and the temptress daughter. And the fact that, you know, well, your son's 18, my daughter's 17, and she just got here. So what are you talking about keeping my daughter away from your son? How is he driving the bus anyway? He's only 18. He's really good at it. Yeah, you can tell this is like a, you know, back of the woods kind of country place. So similar to where I grew up. So I'm not really surprised by that. I mean, obviously I never had an 18-year-old bus driver, so there's that aspect of it. But in any case, yeah, you got the city girl versus the country boy. So the city girls knows how to, oh God, when there's somebody from out of town, they're instantly hot. So there's that aspect of it. But the age difference thing, I don't know. Plus, you know, a 17 and 18-year-old messing around, I don't think that's as extreme as a 21-year-old and 17. Honestly, I do not know. I just know that I'm almost 30 and I'm not even thinking about people that age. So I have no idea how it works. So in any case, yeah, the sheriff is like, you know, hey, welcome to my town. Keep your daughter away from my son. And then he leaves. And then, you know, Jeremy tries to big himself up because, yeah, he actually did halfway decent job of holding his ground. He didn't just, I felt like, to be honest, I felt like, Jeremy did a better job standing up to the sheriff as best as he could, as opposed to how Sandra walks over him and Leah. And then, he and Vinny have an exchange for about, 5 minutes. It was good at first because, Vinny, man, you went out like a punk. He said a bunch of vulgar words and everything. And I just like the fact that, they were kind of trading blows, if you will, while the sheriff was there, because it kind of showed that Vinny still had his back in a way. So, yeah, this scene was a bit too drawn out, but I did like the chemistry between Vinny and Jeremy. I did like it. So Leah comes in. I ain't gonna lie, she looked pretty damn good in that blue dress she was in. And they're just chilling on the couch, and pretty much, she overheard the sheriff over there. And apparently the sheriff actually came over last night. Jeremy just didn't talk to him because I think Vinny was like, oh, he was trying to, hide a murder, because I think that's when, Sandra came home and they, we're probably going to, well, Brown expected an ass whooping, but that didn't happen. But the sheriff was over there because he had reports about the weed burning and everything. So Vinny kept throwing in his face, where the evidence? The weed gone. So they talk about the fact that, Sandra's out of line, is out of control. And I think it was Leah that suggested Sandra goes back to Chicago to live with her aunt, her sister. And Jeremy says no. And I'm like, But he basically like, well, she's almost 18, so she's going to go out on her own soon enough. That's actually a valid point. The fact she's about to turn 18. I don't really know these character ages, but I would assume she's either a junior or a senior in high school. And yeah, if she's going off to school, then then again, we don't know how intelligent she is as a student. So given the fact that, her dad lost his job and everything, hence why they even moved out to this rundown place. So I doubt, unless she gets scholarship or financial aid, she's probably not going to be able to afford to go to like a, out of state school or whatever, or like a school back in Chicago. So I don't know. But honestly, that's not a very bad idea to have her go stay with the aunt. But Jeremy says no. We go up to the kids' room, and Philip is listening to music. I'm guessing getting ready to go to school, given the fact that he has his backpack and everything. And his parents come in and tell him to go downstairs to eat breakfast. He doesn't want to have breakfast with Uncle Vinny because he makes all these flapping noises with his mouth when he eats. Trust and believe. I remember my grandparents doing the same thing. So Sandra comes in, and he goes downstairs, and she pretty much just ignores her parents, disrespectful and rude. And I think that it gets to the point where he's like, fine, you keep acting up. You go back to Chicago and stay with your aunt. What? Really? I'll start packing now. And then that's the end of the episode. 3 out of 10, because like I said from episode 1, the chemistry between Jeremy and Leah is believable. I think these two do very well together in terms of scenes. I think there's a right mix of comedicness, a loving nature between them as husband and wife. Yeah, I actually like these two. I've always said this since episode 1. I really love the dynamic between Leah and Jeremy. It's just that when you see them I know this sounds bad, but I feel like the chemistry with their kids is really off. I know that's a weird thing to say. It's almost like, well, Jeremy, you're saying that these two characters, when it's just the husband and wife scenes, they're good, but when it's scenes with their kids, I think it comes down to how, well, stereotypical teenagers are written, or millennials are written to be in these kind of shows nowadays. Not to mention, we get that kids are disrespectful and all, but you're really going to tell me these parents are, well, then again, I mean, they're white, black, there are parents of all races that are as lenient and, well, excuse the term, they just are punks when it comes to their kids acting out of line. Like, they didn't threaten to take away her phone or anything, given the fact that, okay, you know what? If you're just going to up and leave this house without telling anyone where you're going, having the person you're going with come in and introduce themselves, and you don't know how to answer a phone, we're trying to find you, we're going to take your phone. But then you can make the argument, well, Jeremy, they're tracking her phone and whatnot and her text, so they take her phone. Wait, no, I don't think they track her phone. They pretty much are. Leah is linked to her text, so yeah, there's that aspect of it. So I feel like, even though they're probably, punish her even more because she doesn't care about being grounded, millennials, take away the freaking technology. Remember when there was no Wi-Fi in the early episodes? Trust and believe. YouTube was down yesterday for a few hours, and I was sitting here contemplating what the hell am I doing with my life, because technically speaking, when YouTube was down, I was unemployed for a few hours because YouTube was down. I couldn't. That's why I'm doing these videos now, and I didn't watch the episodes live because I couldn't upload anything because YouTube was down. So yeah, kids and adults. I'm almost 30 and I was losing my flipping mind. I just sat here like, Even though I could have put on a Blu-ray or a DVD or watched Netflix or whatever without YouTube, I'm like, what am I doing? So take away her phone, or, I don't know, whatever you got to do. And then I feel like her messing around with the sheriff. If I were Jeremy, I would have brought the fact that, hey, well, guess what? If you won't listen to me and stay away from this bus driver, who knows what the sheriff might end up doing? So there's that aspect of it too. There's just so many things that go on. And I think the sheriff mentioned that it was Sandra who texted the bus driver, his son, to begin with. And even Jeremy called him out. I was like, whoa, my daughter doesn't initiate text. She responds. I don't know how true it is, but given the fact that Leah is linked to the phone, it stands to reason that it was probably the bus driver that I don't know. I don't know. But with that being said, yeah, I love the chemistry between Jeremy and Leah in that blue dress, Vinny and his exchange with the sheriff. Part of the exchange between Vinny and Jeremy was funny. And that was about it. So yeah, 3 out of 10. This was a halfway decent episode. I feel like this episode does prove that even without Brown and Cora in every single episode, it does have potential, but I think the writing could just be far superior to what it is now. So that's really all I have to say for this particular episode, Rebel with a Cause. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Oh, I'm sorry. I actually overlooked something I was going to explore more in detail. The idea of sending Sandra back to, her aunt's house to stay in Chicago. That isn't a bad idea in concept because of the fact that, like Jeremy said, she's about to turn 18 and whatnot. So we're assuming that she's almost done with high school. I mean, what if the kids, maybe not just Sandra, but maybe Philip and Sandra, if it wasn't too much of a burden, could stay with their aunt in Chicago, continue to go to school, be around their friends, at least until the point where the assisted living facility has been renovated and whatnot. Because given the pandemic, I know a lot of families had to do big adjustments in their life, from unemployment to downgrading or downscaling their luxuries of living, so to speak. But yeah, there's a difference between, and I'm not saying that Sandra is right for being disrespectful at all. I'm not saying that, but it really is a hassle to have teenagers like that. You're going to uproot them, take them across the country to a rundown place in the back of the woods and expect them to conform to their new place in society. So I think that if they could have at least allowed, because Sandra is acting, it's like I said, I think I mentioned this in House of Pain when it came to like Ella and not her recognizing something's wrong with Curtis right away. It was like, how Lady Mae was able to point out that something was up with Bishop when he was having trouble remembering small details about things. It's like Sandra's acting like Zora was in season 5 of Greenleaf, where she wanted to go to New York and everything. And, Carissa and Jacob were trying to put her in line because she just wanted to uproot and leave right away. But it's like, no. We're going to talk about this first. See if we can get you to stay with one of your family members and whatnot, not directly in New York, but close enough, and go from there. Whereas this chick is trying to get a airplane ticket and get a flight out of there like immediately, instead of having a adult, because she kept going on about how I'm almost grown and this and that, but you're acting like an immature child instead of having a conversation with your parents, and you just expect them to agree with what you're planning instead of coming up with a game plan together to make sure you're safe and okay. Whereas Sandra, if she would have been far more respectful to her parents and everything, then I think that sending her off to Chicago wouldn't have been a bad idea. Like I said before, no offense to the young actors, but I don't really see what these two characters bring to the story. I think they should be written off, and sending them back to Chicago would be a great way of doing so. It wouldn't be just also, going back to what I said before, if Sandra wasn't written to be so disrespectful and whatnot, then having her sent off wouldn't be an obvious, yeah, these characters aren't working, let's get them the hell out of here. I think that it would be great to have them shipped off for a while. Like I said, at least until the facility is up and running and things like that. Maybe they can return for like a school break. Pretty much how I thought that they were going to utilize characters from House of Pain during the Pain series, where The main cast showed up, left Curtis and Ella in Florida, but then after their house and the laundromat was all fixed up, let's say if Jasmine got a break from high school, I'm going to assume that Jasmine was in high school during the beginning episodes of The Pains. Yes, I know it was just a bad dream, but I'm talking about when the show was actually on the air. Let's just say that Jasmine, whenever she got, let's just say school, which encompasses both college and school. Whenever Malik or Jasmine got a break from school, maybe they will be able to visit, their auntie and uncle in Florida, or during the holidays or whatever. They could just come down. It's not that they would be series regulars, but they would just come down to visit for a couple episodes. The same thing with Sandra and Philip. It's like, oh, when everything is fixed up, they can come down, stay with their parents. Maybe like Philip would decide to, stay. I'm not saying that he would have to, but I think it would better utilize the characters. Like, for example, Philip, what purpose did he serve in this episode? He was just there dancing with his headphones on and talked about how his grandpa chews weird when he eats. That's it. I don't dislike Philip. He's obviously the better of the two children, but apparently the only character flaw he has is a thing for feet, which honestly isn't a bad thing. Sandra, on the other hand, just disrespectful. It doesn't seem to be any redeeming qualities about her. I'm not saying she's totally evil, but I think she's just being written to be a total brat, and it probably will just continue on until something bad happens to her. I mean, they could talk to her all she wants to, but until I hate to say it, until she experiences some of the things that her parents and everybody else is warning her about, she probably won't get into line until it's too late. So, I don't know. Sending her away wouldn't be a bad thing, so there we go. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. This review, kind of like the House of Pain one, turned out longer than expected. But yeah, these were my thoughts on assisted living. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or join Patreon for as little as $1 a month. And please, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications.